Hello, Future Bestsellers, friends, everybody here today. We are super excited to see you guys. We were just having an interesting conversation backstage about our topic today, which I'm very excited about, which is writing process, and also we were talking about writing convention COVID. So we might talk
I
about
may
that.
have ranted. I may have ranted for 5 minutes.
So what started us off on that conversation, just to bring you guys all in, was that I was saying that I have a number of authors that I work with who are mystery authors, and a lot of them went to this to BoucherCon last week, which is a big mystery writer convention. And a lot of them were on panels together. And one of them came back with COVID, and now all the rest of them are like quarantining.
Yeah.
And I am going to a writing conference next week. And I have, knock on wood, not had COVID. I have been vaccinated. I have been fortunate, and I have masked up a lot. But I will say I made it, like, after I heard that yesterday, when everybody's like, I just got COVID, after that, and a bunch of people came back from that conference with COVID. So I thought I should get that sparkly new Omicron booster before I go to my conference. Right. And here's the thing, I've been a Moderna girl the whole time, but they weren't going to have it until Monday, and I wanted to give my body a chance to build up a little immunity. So I went with the Pfizer. So I'm sure it's awesome. I heard that it has like different side effects. Does anybody have any experience with that one?
Yeah, I had Pfizer and the booster, and the second time it didn't do anything to me. The first time it was like slightly sore arm and a little bit tired. That was it. It lasted it was nothing.
I was like down for the count for 48 hours. Yeah. Every time, every booster, every shot, everything.
Really? The booster didn't do anything to me.
Oh my God. I was like,
the booster was worse than the initial shot for me. Everyone was
They say that
worse.
that's good though, that's a sign that your immune system's kicking in. Yeah,
it wasn't quite as bad. So that one may have been a little better than the previous.
Yeah,
they were all bad.
Well, so here's a question for you guys before we kick off this morning. I'm very excited to see everybody here today. So if you are normally a conference goer, because some people just don't,
Conferences.
I love them. I think because I'm an extrovert, really. I'm like an extroverted introvert.
Yeah, I had no idea.
I know, it's a shock. So I like conferences. I like to see all my friends and learn some stuff. Like, that's just, conferences are my cup of tea. So so I did not go like that first year or even in the second year, but last year I did one and it was relatively okay. So now I'm doing a couple this year. So let's go around, and you guys in the chat, let us know if you are a conference person. Are you returning to go to conferences this year, or are you still doing it virtually or not at all? All right, Caro, I'm going to start with you.
The last convention I went to was in 2016, and I almost committed bodily violence on people that wouldn't get out of my way. So I haven't gone to one since then.
So not a conference goer. Good. No. All right, that's good. How about you, Story D?
Well, not so, or I guess maybe a little coincidental, as around 2016 was the last signing and mini con that I went to as well.
Interesting. How about you, Michelle? Tell us all about it.
The last con I actually went to was BoucherCon, because it was in Dallas in 2019.
Oh yeah, so you're close. Yeah, I think so.
And it was like I could get on the train and go 3 stops, and I was there. And I attend. I have a friend who is a publicist at HarperCollins, and so some of her authors were there, and I just got to sit and chill and enjoy the panels. Usually when I go, I am on at least one panel, and I love doing that. I've been to Dragon Con a couple of times in Atlanta. That was awesome.
Oh, I really wanted to go to that. Dragon Con. I signed up and everything.
It is worth it just to walk around and look at the cosplay. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Right. That one I will definitely go to, because I've got like a friend that he goes and speaks. He's like a doctor in some field of science. I can't remember off the top of my head. But they have him come and speak on one of the writing panels because he kind of dives into like, you know, the actual science of science fiction, like where you can get away with it, where it's kind of like, what are you doing?
They really mix. It's not just authors. When I went to the last Dragon Con I went to, they had a woman who was, I can't remember her exact title, but she worked at NASA and she worked on the Mars rover and like was showing us all this cool, I mean, some of it's just straight up science stuff and it's awesome.
That's awesome.
It was
That
so
is
fun.
totally awesome. You mentioned something that I want to like bring to the front of the conversation really fast, which was that usually when you go to a panel or when you go to a conference, you sit on a panel. And I had said something similar. Same thing, right? Generally, if you go to a conference, it's your best option to see if you can't get in on a panel. And it's possible to do that even if you are a newer writer or if you're a more experienced writer. But it's a really good idea to do that. A, because it gets you, your name, your book sort of front and center at the, you know, you're like in the program and all that other stuff. And so it really helps you to make the most out of your conference experience. Plus, a lot of times when you sit on a panel, especially if you're a newer author and you sit on a panel, you'll have more experienced authors there. And that's a really good way to kind of meet people, ask for blurbs, that kind of thing. So
they have submission forms for you to actually go and sit on panels, because that's how I tried to go to Dragon Con when I first got published. And I got a nicely worded response saying the panels are full, and I was like, oh darn. So.
That is one thing, right? You have to start kind of early. So you like once you know that you're thinking about going to a panel, you want to reach out like usually 6 months or more in advance. But the good news is that they always have, like, once you start going to conferences, then right after you finish the conference, you can reach out to the committee, which usually you can find on their website, and either pitch a specific panel based on something you want to talk about or offer yourself up as a panelist on another topic. And sometimes they'll take pitches that are similar and kind of clump people together that way. So it's a good way to meet people, and it's a really good way to kind of get your name out there. All right, you guys, let's say hello to our friends in the chat. Mama Ward is here. Hello. We are very glad to see you today. Claude is here. Hello, Claude. We're glad to see you. Swinton Wolf, very nice that you're here. We're very excited to see you today. Hi, Rose. Glad to see you. Barrett Laurie's here.
Hey.
Lurking from work and writing a bit on the slide. Okay, we'll be super quiet. All right. So JC is here. Yay. BookTube Goddess is here. I'm sorry. I love that name. Love it. Love it. Love it. Every time I see it, I think, oh, I wish I had thought of that. All right. Love that. Caro, thank you so much. Part of the writing process can include writing sprints. That is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. Is that a hit? I was going to say, is that a hit, Caro? I think it is. All right. So JC cracking up at that. Victoria's here. We're super glad to see you today. Dun, dun, dun. Mama says, hubby had Pfizer. He slept for 2 days each time. The rest of us had Moderna. And other than a nap after the boosters, it wasn't bad. Yeah, I had Moderna and slept for 2 days. But like the first night is brutal. Like I get fever, chills. I spend half the night in the bathtub. I mean, here's the thing. You're telling yourself, I'm not really sick. This is just my body doing a good job. Like, it make like you, and now that I've had it, several times, like it doesn't feel. I just was like, well, where can I clear it on my calendar where I can?
Yeah, mine were all Moderna, and like I said, each booster was a bit worse up until I think the last one might have been a little less than the previous, but it's all been bad. I've been sick for like a day or two after, and then my arm is sore, and I just feel ultra fatigued for like about a week.
Right? This is why I didn't want to do it. I could wait for the Moderna on Monday, but I was like, I don't want to do that a couple days before the conference and be dragging around there. So Jenna's here. Hello, Jenna. Mr. Gray is here. Hello. We're very glad to see you. No, Mama Ward. Morgan is vaccine boosted. She just came back from a con and tested positive. Oh, that's the worst.
That's part of what I was ranting about before we went live.
Yeah. I think this is about the conference. Costco experiences I was like, all right.
Oh, Costco. Oh,
Yeah,
Costco.
well, yeah, that's it. I agree entirely. It's like, you know, COVID can affect you like a common cold, and other people it affects really bad.
Yeah.
And they never talk about the people that have lung disease or immune compromised issues, and that's millions of people that could get sick and potentially die if you
Right.
don't, respect others, protect people in your community because you don't know who you're standing next to and being an idiot.
True, true. All right. Mama Ward says, I love the panels, but the crowds get to me after an hour. That can be true. I will hang out until I get a student. All right. Fantastic. Well, let's talk about so today we're going to talk about writing process. And we are going to be doing some sprints today. If only I had come up with the timer that I should be coming up with every week. Here we go. All right, now I've got it, you guys. You'd think it was like a big shock that I'm doing this every week. Like, what? A timer, you say? I'm going to need a timer. All
If
right.
only StreamYard would pick up on this and just have one like in the program.
That's true. Yeah, that could be a cool thing for sure. All right, hold on here. Oh, we got like a delay. What is that all about?
The internet.
I know. I'm hardwired this morning though. That sounds kind of funny, doesn't it? I'm hardwired this morning. Okay, now. Super slow.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Right.
Let's go around. I'm sorry, you guys. Let's go around and talk about. Oh, we've got something. Wait. I'm terrified on whether or not this is going to play. Since we have it up, let's hope against hope. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to start with our 5-minute warm. We're going to start with our 5-minute warm-up sprint this morning. We've already passed 3, so let's start it in 3, 2, 1. Sprint. All right. Here we go. Let's see if I can get all this stuff back. All right. So, what is everybody working on today, and how did you do in the last sprint? In our first 5-minute warning sprint, a warning sprint. That's new for us.
I wrote my words already this morning, so I'm going through and cleaning up the dictation mess. So
very nice, very impressive. We are very glad to hear that. That's super great. You're killing it first thing in the morning.
I love writing in the morning.
I know, I do too, right? It's just like before everything else gets started. Yeah. And
And
also
then you
there's
feel accomplished all day no matter what else happens.
Right. There's this, I think it was from a Gretchen Ruby book, but I don't remember. But one of the writers who, I think it was Gretchen Ruby, who regularly writes about happiness and happiness studies, says that people who make their bed first thing in the morning are happier than people who don't. And it's for that very same reason that you have like this small sense of accomplishment that you're starting your day off. It takes like a minute and it stays with you all day. And I think there's also something to prioritizing your life around the thing that's most important to you. Like, I'm going to do my writing first.
Mm-hmm.
And I always find that when I'm writing in the morning, I write more words, I'm more inspired, I'm funnier, all kinds of stuff. And I don't consider myself really a morning person, but I do have that experience. Okay, so good. Carol, what are you working on today?
I am working on the book in a 7-day challenge right now. Only I'm doing a graphic novel script, so I'm just writing an issue every day until I get to the end.
Excellent. Fantastic. That I'm still booking a week amazes me. Story Detective, what are you working on today?
I'm editing my manuscript, and I did fairly well to get things moving in that tiny little sprint. It went by very quickly.
It did.
And hopefully we continue in that vein.
Yay. All right. Fantastic. I mostly just opened the timer. And also the Horror Geek has been sending me houses in other locations. And so I was like, I can't look at this right now. But yeah, I pretty much just got the other timer to work. So we will not be so delayed. I am actually not going to be writing this morning. We were talking about this a little bit backstage, but I've just had one of those weeks where just life was just too chaotic to carve out that time in the mornings. And I made a conscious decision, like, okay, I'm going to take a week off of this. And so just because things were feeling overwhelming, I'm writing something that's supposed to be funny, and it's harder when you're stressed to like feel to be funny. Sometimes it's like I feel like I have more like dark humor when I'm feeling like that. So anyway, so I felt like, okay, this is a good thing. All right, here we go. Yep. Mama Word says, doing the 7-day book challenge, missed 2 days because of migraines. I am right there with you. Leah's here. Hi, Leah. We're super glad that you made it today. Cool gamer. We're very glad to see you today. Very, very nice. Mama Ward is hoping to get 5K today. So what's your goal, Mama Ward, like as far as like have you adjusted your weekly goal? Are you still going to try and knock that out in a in a week? I'm curious about that. So like our topic today is actually writing process. So let's talk about this for a second, because I think it's a really good question. So what do you guys do when you have word count goals for so you're going to like, okay, I've got to get 75,000 words written by this deadline. And so what do you do with your word count, especially when you're at the end? If you have something happen, like you get sick, or you have a child that gets sick, or life falls apart, or your house catches on fire, or you get, a family member gets hit by a bus, what do you do? Or whatever else, having a mental health crisis. What do you do when you have an event that happens that sort of takes you out for a couple days or for a week, that gets you really far off your planned writing schedule? How do you recover? Do you try and make it up for the rest of the writing time, so you'll still hit your 75K or whatever it is on your original deadline? Or do you shift your deadline? What do you do?
It really depends on the project for me. Like if it's something I have contracted or not, first of all. If it's just for me, then I will probably just do myself the favor of extending it.
Right.
If it's for someone else, then I really think hard about, am I going to feel better if I ask for an extension, or am I going to feel better if I buckle down and get this done? And I kind of like gauge where I am. Like the one thing when you were talking about it, the instance I was thinking of is I was under a contract to turn in a draft a couple weeks after I moved to Dallas. And right like 2 weeks after we moved into this apartment, my dog died. And we had her for 15 years, and I was like,
devastated,
just wrecked. And I really thought about it, and I know my editor was nice and would have been completely understanding, but this was the Kudo Kids contract. So this was like, there were other authors involved, and it impacted so many people that I was like, you know what, maybe what I need to do is look at this as a distraction. And I know if I actually contact all of these people and tell them, hey, I need more time, I'm going to inconvenience you all, it's actually just going to make me feel worse. So that was like a case for me of like buckling down and just doing it. But that's not necessarily what I would do in every case. It just depends.
Yeah, it really does. I do think the outside deadline is that's like a major factor, right? So so I've had situations like where something happens, or actually like when I wrote my first novel and I was going on tour for that, I was also under contract for another dating advice book, only not like 9 months apart. And which I was like, I will never do that again. It was insane. But what happened was my due date was like the day that my tour started, and I was okay on my word count right until the end. And I did not anticipate how much time I was going to need to, like, in that last week, to sort of pack and organize for this massive tour that I was going on. And so I didn't like write very much that week. So now I'm like on tour the first couple of days, and I'm going to be like missing actually, I think it was like the second or third day after my tour started that the book was due. But anyway, long story short, I was literally trying to finish up the book in a hotel room. And I think the only reason I was able to finish it that day was because I was supposed to be on a television show, and the show got canceled, like altogether. It was AM Chicago, I think, and they got canceled. So I had like a free whole day in my hotel room to write this book. But normally with a contract, I would definitely try and make it. But sometimes you can't. And I was single-minded. I was late on that because I had some really insane and horrible stuff happen, and it just wasn't going to happen. So how about you guys? Caro, do you push the deadline, or do you try
I was gonna let Robert talk first.
Okay. How about you, Robert? Push the deadline, or work harder to try and make up for lost time?
Well, for many years, I had no choice but to push the deadline. So I would go without sleep and work like 15, 20-hour days until I got it done. And now coming back to doing this, I was moving along fine until the last couple of years of the pandemic, of drafting one novel, moving on to the next, and trying to get stockpiled ahead. The last couple of years, every time I try to push, it's like I'll start out big span of time and then just stop, and then big span and stop. And then I keep, with all the stops and starts, I felt I was losing more time than I was actually gaining. So I'm throwing the whole idea personally of deadlines out the window and just trying to sit back and enjoy it, because I can't keep going with the stop and start because it's chaotic for my brain.
Yeah. Well, and and to have a more enjoyable writing experience is probably something that will end up ultimately making you more productive, because you're liking what you're doing. All right, let's hear what our friends say. Oh, we got to go back to Caro. Sorry, we skipped you.
It's okay. I guess I'm kind of like in the same boat as Michelle, where it kind of depends. When I had clinical depression and I hadn't been treated for it yet, I couldn't do it because the brain chemistry just wasn't working. So obviously I had to take care of that before I could think about working. My current situation right now is that I just do it. So one of the places I keep doing self-soothing gestures. I'm sorry.
You don't have
But
to
one
be
of the
sorry for that.
one-
Here, let's all do one really fast. Here we go. Self-soothing gesture. Okay, good.
A lot. If I started, I wouldn't stop.
Okay. But like with the gaming group that I work for, I'm part of the narrative team. So my job is to make scripts and to do background information, stuff like that. And I work 2 jobs right now. So for example, last night I was working until 7 p.m. because it just had to get done. Right. In some situations where I know I need to get things done, I have to take a look at my time, and sometimes I have to be really clear about boundaries, or I have to communicate them effectively. So with the last book a week challenge that I did, I told my husband, like, I'm not a thing. Like, don't talk to me until like 1 p.m. And so he was like, okay. So he would come in, bring me coffee, and leave me alone. Right. I'm not doing that this time around because it's a different situation. I can't just take time off work. So I'm trying to figure out how to work it into the day. And it's definitely a little taxing. I don't know if I'm going to do this book a week challenge like I am again. So it's definitely taking a look at what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, where can I find time to do it, and what's realistic, right?
Yeah.
So
I think that's a really good approach to it. I think that deadlines can be awesome and motivated and help you, push you through and keep going. And also at some point, you need to focus on taking care of yourself, otherwise you're like going to burn out. And like you have to really be conscious of that as you're writing, which is like just to add that to the list of 900 other things that you have to always be thinking about as a writer and an author. All right, let's talk to everybody and see what you guys are doing, what you think about this. Hello. Mama Ward's still trying to get to 30K. I've spread the count the days missed across the days remaining. That is my strategy when I'm behind on a deadline. Of course, then you're like, okay, all I have to do is write 9,000 words a day and I'll be fine. Okay, so
easy.
Right, no problem. Jenna says I need to catch up on so many things. Super behind because of teaching. Oh, I'm sure that's true, especially this time of year. Mama says if I can't catch up, I'm okay with it. I'm not one that gets hung up on failures because no words left behind. I believe if I'm going to fail, I'm going to do it gloriously. Right. Speaking of that, who saw what's her name? Jennifer Coolidge at the Emmys last night.
I haven't watched.
I'm going to track down. I haven't either. I'm going to track down this clip for you guys because she plays a lot of roles where she normally would not win an Emmy. She's fantastic, and I'm madly in love with her. Love her to death. Hilarious. One of, I think, the best comic actresses ever. But she plays the kind of roles that don't generally win Emmys. And she won one last night. And I think it was like one of those things where she knew she was there and she might not ever be there again. And so she's giving the speech and then they start playing her off. They play the music, do, 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 do. And she's like, wait. And they keep playing it. And then she just gives it all up and like starts dancing to it, and the whole crowd is cheering, and it was such a her kind of moment. And I'm not doing it justice. I'll try and find the clip, you guys, and share it with you when we come back. Okay, let's see. But that is glorious right there, just like that. You have a primary responsibility that takes more time than a regular job. Any bit you get done is an amazing accomplishment. True. Absolutely the truth. Absolutely the truth. Yep. Yeah, that's true, right? Especially if you're trying to make a change like that. I think that is something that you always have to think of. Stay on target. Stay on target. Okay, so Cheryl Lee Ralph was the talk of the Emmys, and her acceptance speech was the thing to talk about. First Emmy for comedy at 65. Oh, I love that. To be fair, I did not watch the Emmys last night. I just saw the clip of Jennifer Coolidge.
Oh, she's Cheryl Lee Ralph. Is she in Abbott Elementary? Does anybody watch that? Is that? I think that's who she is. I know who she is. Oh my gosh, I love that show.
Oh, I love that. That's fantastic. Yay. Oh my God. I love that. See, it's never too late, everybody. All right. Speaking of being late, let's start a sprint.
Yeah.
when we come back, we're gonna talk more about writing process and what you guys do. And I want to talk about some sort of common problems. I think that, falling behind on your deadline is a big one for sure. But let's talk about some other stuff when we come back. All right, related to our writing process. All right, everybody, we are going to start our sprints happening in 3, 2, 1. Sprint. All right. Fantastic. There we go. Let me just get this thing stopped here. All right. So I found two things that I wanted to show you guys. First, share screen. All right. So this is Cheryl Lee Ralph, and she broke into, I could not find a video in that amount of time, but she like broke into an a cappella song in the middle of her acceptance speech or at the end. I'm not quite sure because I haven't seen it yet, but I love that. And I think that is incredible. And also, there is no freaking way this lady's 66 years old. Holy crap. She looks amazing. She
Yeah.
looks amazing. Like, seriously. And also, if you think like you don't know her name, go look her up on IMDb. This woman has literally been in every television show ever. She's really incredible. Like she's very dolled up here. And by the way, I totally dig her hair.
Yeah.
I don't think I could get the little jewels to stick because my hair is super, super fine. But I would pay cash money for that hairdo. I love it. All right. So when I win my Emmy, that's the hairstyle that I want. Okay. So there's that. So that is incredible. It's like, it sucks that it's taken so long for her work to be recognized, but also it's awesome that it finally was. And I totally love that she dug it. All right. So here's the speech. Oh, I got to share a different screen. Hold on. I just switched tabs. I realize you guys can't see it. All right. Oh, and maybe take the banner off, huh? Okay. All right. Let's see. So now we're just going to take a quick little peek at Jennifer Coolidge. I just fast forwarded it right to the part. So she's given her speech, and here she goes. Wait.
And my sister is here tonight. And wait, hold on one thing. Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. Okay.
All right. I know, right? Like, way to make the most of that. I know, right? She's fantastic. So love that. All right. Anyway. Okay. So sorry, a little Emmys recap. That's all you needed to know. So our question that we were going to talk about, and I said it in the banner, and now I don't remember what it was. What did I say? Oh, why is writing process important? So I have an opinion on this, is that when things go wrong, your writing process can almost always save you. And right. And Robert had brought up this topic last week for us to talk about, but it made me think, because Michelle and I both did something really similar, in that when we were like, oh, I'm kind of stuck here, or I'm not writing as fast as I should be, we both were like, our immediate thought was, oh, I need to go back to the drawing board and plot more, or think through what's happening next in this scene. And that felt really automatic to me. I imagine it felt automatic to you to go back and do that.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right. And so, but as a new author or new writer, you might not know, like, I'm struggling. You might think, well, the story's terrible, or I'm a terrible writer, or the muses are not with me today.
Right.
Or whatever. You might blame yourself, when really this is a writing process problem.
Right.
This is a problem that could be solved by, I don't know what I'm trying to say in the scene. I need to figure it out before I try to write it.
Yeah, mine was about my character, and it's usually something foundational. And when you get back to that, then the story moves forward again, or you can just keep plodding through, and then there's a lot more to fix. And for me, I need that structure going in. I need to kind of see where they're going at least a little bit, and then they will work things out along the way, because that just happens. Stories morph. But you know, the whole process thing for me, when I mentioned it to you, Lisa, was a conversation I had with a guy on Instagram, and he was talking about the writing process, and the process was, I think, probably very derived from Stephen King, that writing is simply sitting down and going through the process, and revision is just getting your thoughts clear. Clarity is great, but clarity doesn't make a story. I could make up thoughts and make them clear as pie, but they're not going to really tell a story without
They're
some
not entertaining anyone or making them think. But you're very clear on that. That's good. Sorry. CO Savvy just spotted Odin. Did he come back? Oh, he just popped in. What was he doing?
Oh, he was just laying there looking cute. And then I actually didn't see him because he matched your chair. And then he got up and left. And I was like, there was a dog there all along.
He's really funny. Like, he's in here all day unless I'm doing a live stream or like a Zoom, because he does it. Like, I think it weirds him out that I'm talking to a screen and there aren't any people. I think it just confuses him. So he often does not stay in here when this is my one sadness about Odie, because he's so cute. Everybody loves him, but he doesn't like to hang around for streams. So anyway. All right. Yes. So congratulations. You get that. That's the center square. If you spot Odin, that's live stream bingo center square. Heather's here. Hi, Heather. Finished one background and made another. She gave Stepmothers Everywhere a good name. It was Moesha, right? Yeah. I know this is the thing. She's fantastic in everything she does. Sidebar again. I am kind of surprised she's never won an Emmy, because she's done a ton of television in her career. So yeah. All right. Anyway, here we go. See? Ta-da. Okay. Caro, process. Yes. How has it saved you or not saved you?
It's been interesting. And I had a recent breakthrough development in how I do things. So I'm a planner. I like to plan things, and I know you're all surprised. But sometimes the planning process gets away from me a little bit. I start thinking about too much stuff. And when I started, so the guy that I work for over at the gaming group, the creative director, one thing that he told the narrative team to start doing is that, because we're doing motion comics and we're doing comics in general and stuff like that. And he said, for everything that we do, we have to have a 1-page synopsis. And the original intention was to pass it through the producers and have they're okay with it. So that way they could be like, yeah, this is fine. And I told him right off the bat, I wasn't really used to it. And so he said, wherever you can find time to practice it, please practice it. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And so I've been doing that for a month straight on like this comic project that I'm working on and everything else. And it has really helped me to tighten stuff up. I don't get lost in the weeds. I don't feel like I have to re-outline anything. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I still outline, right? I've got this 1-page synopsis to make sure that I don't deviate or go too far off into left field. I will outline what I am going to do the next day, the night before. And I don't finish what I'm doing on a note of I don't know what's going to happen, because I don't want to sit here and stare at my screen and try and find myself at 7 a.m.
That's I can't remember. I want to say it was a Hemingway technique. I don't remember, and if I'm misattributing it, then please forgive me. I think it was Hemingway who used to always stop in the middle of a sentence.
Yeah, that's a good, or just in the middle of a scene or something like Caro said, so you know what you're sitting down to tomorrow.
Right, yeah. Exactly. And then by the time you have to think of the next thing, you're already in the flow of writing.
Right.
And it makes it a lot easier. Yeah, I think that is a really good strategy to think about. And this helps if you're an outliner. I think it's harder if you're a pantser, but at least you can give some contemplation to what you're going to be writing about the next day. Because sitting down to a blank page is sucky, so you should only do it on that first day if you can, and avoid it all the rest.
I remember Saul Stein had a similar process, and he would say, "Stop while the writing is still hot." Mm-hmm. And give yourself a note to see the next morning of whatever your idea is for the next thing to get you going.
Mm-hmm. There are some times, so I don't know if I would stop. Well, that's a good question, though. All right, you guys, do you think you should stop when the writing is hot, or don't stop when the writing is hot? For me, I'm always worried that if I stop
Yeah.
right when I'm on a roll,
Yeah.
that you're like, I'm going to forget some. It's like a dream if you don't write it down. Like you're like, oh, I know just what to do for scene 12. And if you don't write it down, you always forget, or it's never quite the way it came out in your head originally.
Right.
So I usually will not stop in the hot.
Right.
I
No,
will usually,
never.
right? I will usually stop, like, you know, as it's sort of drifting into, like, once you're kind of on it, like a down peak again, where you still know where you're going, but you're not, right? Because I feel like when you're hot, like you, like those words just want to come out. That feels like write us, interrupt us to me. I don't want to do that. All right. So let's go. So do you do that? I mean, I think that's great advice for him. Do you do it, Robert?
I don't do it. I have tried it, but I forget things too, and I end up making a whole bunch of notes so I don't forget. And I'm like, why don't I just write it down and get it over with?
Michelle, how about you? Do you stop in the hot or after the hot?
Well, like you said, if I'm really on a roll and I don't have any reason to stop, then I'm going to write through until it starts to go down. But then I do try to write a little bit more to feel like there's like upward momentum. So like if the hot part was finishing this one scene, then I start the next scene, even if it's just a little bit.
Right. Right. Exactly. That's what I do as well. Matthew says, you've built momentum. Why stop? Hi, by the way. Hi, Matthew. We're very glad you're here today. How about you, Caro? Do you, I don't know, I was going to call you Cathro. I'm not quite sure what that was. Hi, Caro. Do you stop in the hot or do you do something else?
I write until my brain says you're done. Like, I don't know, maybe everybody knows what I'm talking about when you're writing, all of a sudden, like, your brain, like, hits a wall, and you're like, I could write more, but I could have coffee instead. And so then I go have coffee.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So JC says, I prefer to stop in the middle of the scene, but not necessarily a sentence, though. That would drive me crazy. I think that's the point, that your brain is so excited to get, like, I got to finish that sentence, that, right, that you would keep going, or that you would, like, immediately you'd be thinking about the scene all night, and then you would get going immediately in the morning.
That's how I don't sleep.
Right. That is true. That's true. Amy says, that's my favorite advice ever. Always stop where you know what comes next. True. Absolutely. Yes, I think that's definitely true. Claude says, no way are we going to stop when the writing is hot. Happens too rarely. I jot down notes because future CO will smack the blank out of me if I forget this great idea. Right? It is frustrating. It is frustrating. Yeah, it's frustrating if you forget something, like you're like, oh, this is such a great idea. I will literally stop. Like, if I have an idea in the middle of the night, I will get up and write it down. And if I have an idea, like while I'm driving or something, I will make a note on my phone or do something like that. I always want to make sure I keep that stuff, because even if you kind of write down the idea but don't, like, really get the language down, for me, I feel like it's never as funny as that idea, and I really want to get it down. All right. I've learned that works better for me than sitting down next session wondering what now. Part of my plotting process is to write a micro synopsis of most chapters, but I have to write myself out or I will forget, even with notes. That's a good way to explain it, to writing yourself out. Heather's done it both ways. Generally stop in the middle of a scene. That way I know what's next. Yes, very nice. CO says, I've literally held up family for dinner because I was writing down a great idea. Raise your hand if you're held up your family for dinner because you're writing down a great idea. What?
I am food focused. I don't know if you've noticed this.
That's true.
Like, there's my first editor that I got, she's like, why do you keep having these characters bribed by food? And I was like, well, I like food, and like Oreos are delicious, and so are Girl Scout cookies. Like,
oh, it's so true. All right, everybody in the chat, raise a little hand if you too have held up a family dinner or something else because you were writing down a great idea. That's like, yeah. I understand that. I think we talked about this before. I realized at some point that all of my characters have, in every book, my characters drink margaritas. I don't know why. It's a big mystery. It's a mystery. All right. Mama Ward raising her hand. Dinner has been held up. Esther, we're so glad you're here today. I do write a lot of notes on my phone during the night. It wakes me up, but I prefer to stop when you're one step away from gaining momentum to come back the next day. Ah, nice. Mama Ward, multitasker extraordinaire, is dictating while cooking dinner. I do that sometimes. Not like I'm trying to dictate like a chapter, but if I have a good idea, again, like anywhere I am, I will always. Amy is raising both hands and one foot. JC, wait, I StreamYard just jumped. JC. Leah says she agrees with Carol that she's too food motivated to interrupt during food. There you go. Claude's characters drink coffee and scotch. Very nice. And Ward, she said, thanks, Ward. I'm not sure where that came from.
I always have one sir down at character somewhere in the book.
Yeah.
Just one.
Just one. I think it's I kind of love that your characters are always looking for snacks, Caro, foraging for snacks. It makes me think of like, did you guys ever notice that Brad Pitt is literally always snacking in every movie role he's ever in? They constantly show him eating, and I don't know why. In every movie, I don't know.
It's probably because he walked onto a scene with like a bag of Doritos and he's just eating it.
I think that's it. I think that he's probably like a snacker in real life, and it's always like some, whatever. He's like a snacker in real life, I would imagine. And I think that they think it's funny, and that they just incorporate it into the scenes, or maybe every movie is written by someone who's snack focused. I don't know, but I do notice like every Brad Pitt movie, for like I first noticed it with like Ocean's 11. He was constantly eating at Ocean's 11, and then at every movie after that, he's always eating. So okay, this is funny. Amy says, I heard once Robert Downey Jr. hid snacks on the set in the Avengers first movies and would pull them out even when it wasn't in the scene.
Yeah, there was that one scene where he was in the lab with Bruce Banner and he was just handing out nuts to everybody. That was not in the script.
Very nice. That's a cool character quirk. Imagine walking into an epic battle and your main concern is, where are the Doritos? Yes.
What are we fighting for? It better be Doritos.
Right. What are we fighting for?
Better be Doritos in that dragon horde.
That's right. That's right. I love that. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and roll into another 20-minute sprint. We're going to get our words done today. Snacks are optional. All right, here we go. Let's get this up. Yeah, this would be great if I had it ready to roll. Like, it's literally up. I just have to go through now all of the Emmy speeches that I have on my desktop. All right, here we go. All right, everybody. It's time for our next 20-minute sprint. Snacks, water, manuscript, whatever you need. All right, everybody, let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Sprint.
It's okay. She'll be back.
I try to unmute myself, and instead I zonked myself from the stream. So there's that. Okay. Sorry. Hold on, guys. I still have ocean sounds. What is happening with this? All right. So how did everybody do on that last sprint?
Very good.
Yeah?
Yeah, that was good.
Fantastic. Very, very glad to hear it.
Oh, he is there. He looks like a pillow. Your dog. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Odin is
yeah. He does.
Oh,
He's hold on. I'll make myself big so everybody can see. Oh, look, he's hiding right there on the couch. Oh my gosh. Or on
we've got a twin thing going on. Rose is in a very similar position over there.
Oh, super cute.
From a
He-
distance, it does look like one of those little round puff pillows.
I know. He for whatever reason, they always like go through little weird phases, and for whatever reason now when he's sleeping in my office, he likes to like sleep on top. I have that little pillow that's got like little pelicans on it, that's got like funny pink feathery things on it, and he loves to sleep on that now. I do not know why. So Mama Ward says, Papa's Rosa, Odin. Mama Ward got 277 on that last one. Vixen of Fiction. Vixen of Fiction is coming in today. Hi, we're very, very glad to see you. We're having a very good conversation. All right, so very glad you're here. Paget Farmer is here. Yay. We're very, very glad to see you. I wanted to bring something up that Esther mentioned. Okay, when we were raising hands, I missed her comment. She says she's ignored family to jot down ideas, but not hold up dinners. She'll just sit down and keep jotting in secret.
Oh.
Love that. I love that. I think that is an excellent solution to a problem. So let's talk about, so we're talking about writing for you guys who are just popping in now. We're talking about writing process today. And, oh, there we go. Sorry, Theo says we need Caro's doggos and Robert's cat, and then we get pet bingo.
All right, adventure time. Adventure time. There she is.
Hi, sweetie.
One was just in here during the sprint walking around my chair. I don't know where she went.
Cats aren't so pliable, are they? So I want to talk about what we were talking about writing process before, and I want to talk about the ways that sort of writing rituals are part of our writing process. So if there's like a way that you get ready in the morning before or in the afternoon or whenever you start writing, is there something that you do before you start writing? Do you listen to some kind of music? Or do you just like plop down wherever you are and, write in the car, write at karate practice, write it, wherever. So, and you don't need any sort of a warm-up routine. So I'm very, some like writers, if they're coffee or whatever. So let's go around. You guys let us know in the chat if you have sort of a beginning writing ritual, even just a little small one. Esther read a chapter and a half. Very nice. Yay. On that last sprint.
I need binaural beats or some kind of noise canceling thing because the dogs will bark, and then I immediately I turn the Wi-Fi off.
Yeah.
So I don't get notifications. People can't contact me, and it's just like for 1 hour I am unreachable. Which for my husband, who likes to be able to stay in contact with me 24/7, that hour will sometimes have him walk into my office being like, "Are you okay?"
That's very sweet.
He's a sweet man.
Yeah, that's why I have the horror geeks like that. I have to get I have a little sign. As you guys know, I have a little sign on my door that says I'm writing, love you, so that people know okay, don't pop in when I'm doing this. So okay, I like that. So you get a little binaural beats going, you shut off all the notifications. That is a good little writing ritual to start. How about you, Robert? What's your writing ritual to start?
I just started doing a warm-up with the typewriter and going through some dialogue and just typing it out and getting a feel for what I'm about to write. That way I have dialogue ready to kind of insert into the scene I'm editing. Because sometimes I'll be thinking about the scene and the conversation will go through my head and it seems better than what I have. So I don't want to forget that. So I'll either jot it down and then I'll start making the typed pages, continuing that conversation. Then I'll see if it actually fits or if I'm just imagining it in a way that's too off.
That's cool. That's it. And also like it's sort of getting your fingers and your brain into the process of doing that. I like that. How about you, Michelle? Do you have a sort of writing ritual to get before you get started?
I definitely, I mean, coffee, that's just kind of obvious, but I've actually found that, I do better if I do a longer sprint and then do progressively shorter sprints instead of the other way around. Like 5 minutes just isn't enough. But if I do half an hour, it's like my brain gets into it. And then after that, it's easier to motivate myself because it's like, oh, the next sprint is shorter, but I'm like,
right, but you're already kind of hyped up about it.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I know. I thought that was really interesting that you, we were talking about in Write Club that you had mentioned that you were doing, you start with a longer sprint than 20, 30, 20, whatever, 30, 20, 10 or whatever it was. I really like that. So for me, I think you guys know I listen to ocean music if I'm not at the ocean when I'm writing. And I get my giant bottle of water. And I usually bring in some little snacks because I write just like some, almonds or something like that. So that I have, or something worse for me, depending on where I am in my food choices. But I do that so that I will not have any excuses to get up. Right. I'm all set. I've got my water. I've got my little thing. And then I start listening to that, to the ocean sounds. And that like puts me in it just all the time. Love this. We've got some good comments here. Jen Writes Romance is here. Hello. Lisa Writes Romance. Very glad to see you. Very, very glad to see you. Jenna says she's got to have music. A good beat keeps me typing. I love that. Regina, totally the opposite. She needs silence. Love this. Off topic, Lisa, we need to talk about Cobra Kai. Yes. We have my son and I watch it together, and the whole first couple seasons we were like Cobra Kai like this, and then anyway, it was a thing. It's a little silly now, but I bet CO understands. Okay. Anyway, Esther says I make a playlist for my works in progress. So music is crucial for my writing. It helps with vibe and emotions. Also silences all the noise around me. So true. I used to do that before I started writing to ocean sounds. I used to do that with music. I would just have a playlist, and I often would play the same song on repeat over and over and over again while writing a scene, because I'd sort of use the music to kind of create the mood like a soundtrack, but I also didn't want to get distracted by the words. And so playing that same song on repeat eventually just makes it kind of go in the back of your mind. Otherwise, I'm singing along, and that's problematic for me. Yeah. CO says music always sets that. I can't read today. Always helps to set the mood for me. Love that. I need a routine, but I also need to cycle what the routine is every couple months. Otherwise, the routine starts to make me lazy and unproductive.
Yeah. I need to switch up now and then too. Challenge myself with some kind of new routine or new idea. Do you guys think that, in terms of craft, those mental brushes, I guess, in your head, do you have a voice for that? Like a mentor, a favorite book? How does it work when you're going through craft and you need that bit of guidance?
That's interesting. That's a good question. Let's see. Jen writes at the dining room table, so I get most of my work done when nobody else is home or awake. So I'll tell you guys something. Like I said, I normally write at the beach. I write in my office. I have a nice lanai with a fan. And so I like to write out there and look at the water. That's really nice. But when I was writing Single Minded, the horror geek and I had just started to date, and he was working on his first book, and we sat at my dining room table, like catty corner, wrote together.
Oh,
Because we are so in love. So now his office is next to mine. So, and he was working in the studio for a while, but I was like, I can't see you anymore. And so we both kind of missed that. So he's moving back out here. Anyway, okay, love that. BookTube Goddess also uses binaural beats. I have, if you guys like ocean sounds and binaural beats, I actually have one for productivity somewhere on my channel. Weirdly enough, it is one of my most popular videos, which is funny because I wouldn't think that many people knew about it, but people keep watching it, so that's great. Yes, right. I think that's always a good thing. Yes. Paget says, yep, that's true too. Mama Ward says, not really a ritual. I just settle in to write with a cup of something to chew on and start the work in process playlist. And then I get up and do things around the farm every hour.
I think it's great to have a ritual, but I also think people can fall into the trap of like, if I can't have everything just so, then I can't write.
I will say that, and I'm not going to name this person, but I will say that I know somebody that when they want to write, like their ritual is having crystals all around them, putting out like smelly candles, and if it's not all set up right, they're like, I just can't write today. And I was like, I think you have a different problem.
Right.
It's a different problem. You've got to be able to, it's not, the conditions aren't always going to be perfect.
Right.
You know,
that's very true. And one thing that's nice about a writing ritual, a short one, not a 17-hour one, that's nice about that is that it primes your brain. Like your brain's like, okay, it's time to write now, because it's that sort of habit and routine. But you don't necessarily need to do the same thing. You could do at the same time, but different things, or like have something that works. And some people probably thrive on novelty.
Yeah, and I guess one thing I do want to add on to that, and it's not me trying to be like a nitpicking capital B or anything, but like normally individuals that I find that are that fixated on how things have to be perfect and look a certain way and smell a certain way, I'm kind of like, okay, you got something going on in your life that you're trying to ignore. Like, do you want to talk about
it? Right.
Yeah. Paget says, okay, so I originally read this a completely different way. So Paget says, sometimes the ambient typewriter sounds are perfect. At first I read that thinking, oh my gosh, Paget has found ambient typewriter sounds like on iTunes. And I'm like, that would be great to write to that. Like, anyway, but well, maybe not. Actually, it might be distracting. But I think Paget meant their ambient typewriter sounds. But
there are typewriter collectors that make little videos where they just sit with a cup of coffee and type for a while. You could probably play that in a loop, but some people really do enjoy it.
Yeah, there is something like really soothing. It's probably just a writer. Yes, it's my favorite thing to do. It's so you're surrounded by people, but also it's just the white noise of the water, and I super love it. Love it, love it, love it. Yes, fantastic. I don't have a designated office space to write in. Maybe someday. Definitely visualize yourself in that. If that's where you want to write, make your brain make it happen. All right. Yeah. So binaural beats are something where you have to use headphones when you do them. They're sounds that play under music or nature sounds, or they don't have to. You can just have them playing, but you have to listen to it with headphones on, because one sound goes into one ear and another sound goes into another ear, and it stimulates your brain for a number of different things depending on what tone they are. So
yeah, it's kind of like a type of therapy that's used to activate different parts of your brain. That's the whole theory behind it. So it's trying to wake it up. But binaural beats also works in tones. So some tones will actually, are supposed to decrease anxiety while others wake you up, and usually that has to do with like the pitch of it. So
and
I learned.
And right, exactly. And there are some that work for creativity. There are some that like will help you like calm down if you're a person who needs to like relax at the end of the day, or they're just a variety of different ones. Creativity, blah blah blah, productivity.
I had a little series called Brainwave Suite that had the beta and theta, played with the music, and there was one for deep sleep that I used to play when I would like lay down at night and just needed to relax, and it worked.
That's so, you know what I'm thinking is that ocean sounds literally work for me for everything. I could listen to them to go to sleep. I listen to them to get ready to work. I feel like there's a theme here. CO says, funny thing about my writing process, I can watch a TV show or a movie with a similar vibe as my work in progress, but it has to be second draft because my story will end up plagiarizing if it's the first draft. I feel like a lot of writers do that as far as like wanting to kind of take in when you're sort of trying to get a vibe of something, is that you want to sort of take in other stuff like that. I totally feel that. I do the same thing actually sometimes. That's true. Sometimes it's 4 a.m. and I can't find earbuds, so I can't play background. I just deal with it. Feel it. I live in lovely Sarasota, Florida. How about you? Lovely, right? Really close to the beach. All right. I love that. That is the truth, right? Some of them are really, really weird. Yes. Yeah, definitely. All right, you guys. Very cool. All right, so it's 12:50. I was thinking we were going to get one more sprint in so we can go a few minutes over, or we can just wrap up. What do you guys want to do?
If you do another one, I will have to go now because I have a meeting at the top of the hour that I can't dilly-dally on.
That you can't miss. All right,
Yeah.
good. All right, well, we'll just chit-chat then for the next 5 or 10 minutes. Is there anything, does anybody have anything that they have taken out or added into their writing routine that like made a difference for them? Was there
Mine
something?
changes. I think the thing is, some people, I guess, maybe keep the same routine year after year.
Probably.
I find every once in a while I just have to shake things up because it turns into a rut, and it's like what used to motivate me just doesn't work anymore. Like the early morning thing hasn't been my way of doing it for years. That's more recent.
Same
and
here.
It was just my way of shaking things up.
And
then
I couldn't. And I would like to get back to enjoying the mornings. If I get up now, I'm more likely to exercise and then have breakfast. But a lot can happen between breakfast and life before I sit down. So sometimes that can interfere. So maybe reversing it and doing writing in the morning and exercise after breakfast.
Yeah. For me, that really, like, if you can make it first thing, which I have been sort of back to on this new book, although not in the last week where I've sort of taken a little necessary writing break. But yeah, like getting back to writing first thing in the morning is so much more productive. And what Michelle has said several times, which I totally love, is that she feels so motivated the rest of the day because she's like, I got my word count. And I love that feeling. Yeah, it's great. And then too, like, do you feel, I feel like when I get my words knocked out first thing in the morning, that often later in the day, like around 3 or 4, when I normally would be losing steam, I often have little ideas about the scene for the next day, right?
Yes, that definitely happens.
Yeah. So I feel like by doing that it sort of just kind of spurs you to think about it the rest of the day. So I love that. All right, here we go. So Paget says, I will look back and be like, that character totally did that because Law and Order was on in the background. That's really funny. Jen says, Northern California and not close enough to a beach. I do have a view of my backyard and I love that though. Oh, that's so sweet. You guys know when I was saying that Horror Geek was sending me houses at the top of the hour there in the Bay Area. He lived there for a long time and he really misses it. And I really love it. So we're just like, if we had $3 million to spend, where would we like to live? Do we have $3 million to spend on a house? No, we do not. But yeah. Not yet, right? We're working on that. All right. So Jen loves doing most of my work in the morning hours. I feel so productive and ahead of the game, right? Love that feeling. Wait. Indies have been told that if they don't do things like the professionals, they aren't really trying to be authors. It's that there is only one way mentality that is so toxic to the writing community and makes people feel insecure about their writing journey. That is very true. And I will say, as I will say, as a person who knows a whole lot of authors, there are a million ways to make that go.
I'm
And
ready to rant.
they're
ready.
all, you're ready? All right.
Yeah. So I usually find like the people that take those stances and try and tear down other people are honestly pieces of shit looking to put people in their place. And I could do without those people in my world. If you write a book, however you write it, good. You wrote the book. It doesn't matter how you wrote it. Did you write it standing on your head? That's kind of cool. I can't write standing on my head, but that doesn't mean I can't write a good book. Like,
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think
AUTHORTUBE is filled with that, unfortunately, and that stigma. It hits everybody when they come in the door, so it's always right there. And then you have a lot of big name authors that almost have more of a mystique than a process. And I think that
yeah, you know what? They still have a process. They're just full of crap because they're not telling you about. Yeah, they're just full of crap. I will tell you that right now. Well, I will say something. So I have always been a plotter, right? But my friend Lisa McLeod, also a best-selling author, is a pantser, and she had dyslexia, and so it was for her whole life a terrible speller. And she did not publish her first book until she was, I think, like 35 or 40, because she felt her whole life like she could not possibly be a writer, even though that was what she had told an elementary school teacher, that she wanted to be an author when she grew up. And the teacher told her, you can't be an author. Your spelling is terrible. It's like, but she also was not a person who could like when she was in school, and tell me if this is you, when she was in school and they would say, okay, you need to turn in your outline on Wednesday and your paper on Friday. She could not write the outline before writing the paper. And right. And they always tell you like, oh, this is how you'd have to do it. But it's not. Like half the writers I know, legitimately half, are pantsers, and they can't do the outline before the thing. And that's totally cool. They get books done. They become bestsellers, same as plotters. So
here's my thing about teachers like that. And I'm going to exclude Michelle and I, because we both have teaching histories, right?
True.
But like when I worked at a high school, I would have a teacher that would go and tell children how to write books. And I was like, hey, you ever written a book before? And they're like, no. It's like, don't talk about shit you don't know how to do. Like, I get it. You went to journalism school. You read a lot. That's kind of cool. But like being a great reader doesn't make you a great writer. Like, I hate telling you that there's a correlation there, but...
Carol's on it today, man.
We're talking about my buttons, okay? Like, I have things to say.
Claude says, "What's fun is what I hate is anybody who tears down kids. Like when a kid says, "I want to be an astronaut," you want someone to say to them like, it's 1,000,000 to 1, it's 200 million to 1, somebody's got to be the one, it might as well be you. Like, here's what you're going to need to make that happen. Not you'll never become an astronaut. Like, don't tell that to an 8-year-old. But please, right? There are plenty of people who've been wildly successful in businesses or sports or whatever that they had no business being in, and yet just through sheer force of will and determination and whatever other magic ingredient they had, they were able to make it work. So yeah, don't do anybody any favors by killing their dreams. Mary says, I try to attend more writing live streams because they can help. Something about doing productive things alongside others sometimes sparks my brain, even if what I'm doing is not writing. Yeah, that's great, Mary. Thank you. Vixen's got to get busy work done first. Otherwise, I have a hard time focusing because I keep thinking about all the other things I need to do. Would love to morning write, but it hasn't worked for me yet.
I used to have that busy stuff first, and I still have to kind of organize my studio once in a while, but I'm not in that state of mind anymore where I need to get things done because there's always something else to get done. And I find that it keeps overlapping, and I waste half the day. So I just started pushing that aside.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. I often have an 8-mile long to-do list, but I am very much of the belief that you pay yourself first. So it's like a financial strategy that you put a little money from your paycheck into savings, and then you pay everything after that. And I do the same thing with writing. Like, it's the most important thing to me. And so I prioritize it, and then the to-do list comes after it. And to keep
Okay.
myself from ruminating on
I
all the
actually
things.
I'm sorry. I
Disagree?
have to go. No,
Okay.
I have to go.
We love you. Oh, we were right at 1. All right. Bye.
Take care, Cheryl.
All right, you guys. Let's pop through these comments really fast, and then we're going to wrap things up. Some of the reviewers who like to read and tear things down for a living have killed reviews for me. I don't even read them anymore because I get too heated at a stranger who doesn't matter.
Yeah.
True. You know,
It's sad that negativity is what gets clicks, you know?
it is sad because it feels like that's more of a thing now than it kind of used to be.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's all good reads.
Yeah.
To the point where you have reviewers that sometimes I'm like, do you ever read for actual pleasure anymore? Or are you purposefully picking books you know you're going to hate?
Right.
So you have something to rant about. Like,
or the like, this is the greatest book I've ever read. I love the characters. 15 paragraphs worth of here are all the things I loved about it. 3 stars. Right?
yeah.
Like that's such a Goodreads thing. Like such a Goodreads thing.
Oh, definitely.
So yeah, oh my goodness. So Claude is saying hello to Jen Writes Romance. Love this. Love a little back and forth. To the person whose teacher, that was Lisa Earl McLeod, author of many books. Send her a copy of your published novel, Housemate. She's probably dead now, but not Lisa, the teacher. But yeah, she's thought about that for a long time. And I think she had some like high school reunion, I think, after her first book came out. And I remember her talking, like, she is very much a like let go kind of a person. But I remember her talking about like secretly hoping she was there. Mama Ward says, I've seen reviews where I was like, did you actually read the book or just read random pages in the book?
So many of them. So many of them.
Yeah.
Like major details totally wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally true. That's good. You know what? It's good. And if it doesn't work for you, then that's okay. You'll find something that will. I'm super glad you're going to try it though, because you never do know. The one thing that I think everybody should give a shot to, even just for a couple of weeks, because you'll just glean some incredible information, is when you're trying to find kind of the best place to write, is just keep a little spreadsheet where you write down what time of day you wrote, how long you wrote for, what you were doing, like if you had music or if you're at a restaurant or if it was quiet, and what your word count was and like your words per hour, because, or how inspired you felt, or if you were sick that day or something like that. Because just over a couple, 2 or 3 weeks, you get such insights into what is working for you and what is not. It's kind of shocking. Mama Ward says, I have found that Goodreads gets a little more toxic every year. I think there's definitely some truth to that for sure. All right, you guys. What was that, Robert? Sorry.
Conversation has inspired me to get back to morning writing. It's
Ooh.
in my routine, and I thought about it, and for some reason I keep putting it off. So I'm going to do it.
You're going to do it. I'm glad. If we've inspired, that you personally have helped to inspire yourself. I think that's awesome. That's why we're here, is to inspire people. So, CO Savvy, thank you so much. You guys all have an awesome day. Let's go ahead and do our outros really fast before we roll. Michelle, I can start with you.
All right, I'm Michelle. My channel is Traditional Publishing Chat, writing workshops and writing vlogs, and I got a lot done today. Thanks, Lisa.
You're so welcome. I'm so glad you guys were here today. Story Detective, tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
My channel is The Story Detective, and it's basically taking various forms of storytelling, analyzing it under a Sherlockian microscope, and breaking down the craft, and giving it to the viewer to help, hopefully, your journey become an easier thing to navigate.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm Lisa Daly. I am a traditionally published and self-published hybrid author of I don't remember what I write. Romantic comedies and nonfiction. And if you want to write a book you're super proud of and get it published, this is a good channel to start. And these are also good channels to start with. You guys are all fantastic. Jen writes, romance, thanks for the stream. I need to get here when it starts next time. Speaking of that, it starts at 11 a.m. Eastern every Wednesday. Jen, I'm going to reach out to you because there's so few romance ladies here on AuthorTube. I feel like we should all stick together a little bit. Vixen, thank you guys all so much for being here. Everybody have an awesome day, and we will see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.